Hello, my name is L.A. and I'm an ampaholic. If you are seeing this video, it is because I have decided not to completely gut it for parts and restore it. It's a Bradford made by ST, which also made Magnatone amps, near as I can get. It's got a single channel volume, tone, tremolo, foot switch. It's pretty kind of, I think that's like a green Tolex. It had a 7025 Mullard in it, which I robbed already. And looks like that's a Rolla, 1964 Rolla. So it's a 64 amp. It's got this deteriorating schematic. I'm actually going to try and salvage to save that. Yeah. SD Musical Instruments, Harmony, Pennsylvania. It was made by, they also, from what I was seeing, they made them for Magnatone, and was sold at the GT Grant stores. Yeah, so it's got a Lydic there, a T1, a T2, a 6UH, and this got my attention, the 7025, which I went looking at, and it turns out it's a Mullard. Haven't tested it yet. And a 12, looks like a 12DU7, I don't know. I think that might be a 12AU7. Yeah. I don't know. I have to look that one up. Looks like a DU7. Anyways, there it sits. The grill cloth is, I don't know if it's original. It is flapping in the breeze quite a bit, as Uncle Doug would say. And the speaker looks pretty nice. So I'm thinking more and more I'm going to actually restore this and see which way is where. All right, onward. Look at these tubes. A Telefunken ELL80, which is also known as a 6UHB. A Mullard 7025, also known as a 12AX7 in some circles. And this looks like a 7247? Yeah, 7247 Telefunken, made in West Germany during the Cold War. So I'm going to test these out and look them up and know if I do ever sell this amp. No, I don't think that tube is going to be in it. I'm hoarding that for my own nefarious purposes. Let's keep our fingers crossed these are good. Once again, the internet comes through with the correct settings for my Hickok 600. I've also found the tube data sheet here. All right. It's a dual pentode tube. So here's the inside of this amp. And as I look at it, this is gotta be a death cap. As I look at it, here's your solid state rectification here, filter caps, off into the, mean, geez, look at all the real estate in this thing. As I look at this, I gotta ask myself the question, do I restore this to what it was, or soup it up? Soup it up. I don't know. You know, I could put it, I just don't know. Part of me just says, yeah, just restore it, see what it sounds like, and then soup it up from there. So that's probably what I'm going to do. But, oh man, is this begging for another tube? Questions, questions, questions flooding into the mind of the concerned young adult today. Anyways, I think I'm just going to get it up and running, replace the various components that need it, and see what it sounds like. Alrighty then, onward. Cool speaker. 1964, it looks like. And sure enough, look at that. Bradford amplifiers. Manufactured for W.T. Grant. This does look green. And also, look at that. That's pure gold. Listed under re-examination service. I've never seen that. I'm going to glue that down so that's preserved forever. Underwriter's Laboratory re-examination service. Whew. Man. I'm going to have to check this speaker. Looks pretty cool. This is interesting. According to the schematic, this is a 3.2 ohm speaker. But kind of like an old, like a Champ. But when I measure it, it has a resistance of 7.9, which would signify a 16 ohm or thereabouts. Okay. And here's another discrepancy. Right here, it plainly says 20, 40, 40, and 20. And over here, it says 40, 40, 40. I'll have to test that. See if it's happening. The former owner said that there was some humming or buzzing going on. I couldn't remember which. Welp, small dog. I think I found the source of one of the problems. Here's the first filter cap. 0 ESR. Try the second one. Sorry, hold on a minute. Second one is at 12, 11. Third one's at 1.6. The only one in the spec. Now, you know, I just happen to have this. I know it's old. It's probably no good, but it's new old stock. I know a lot of you erstwhile amp techs out there would say, don't use it. But you know, I'm going to give it a shot. Look at this ESR reading. They all read this, 0.33. So, what could go wrong? Here's something I missed at first glance. Extension speaker? Oh boy, that'll give you a nice surprise. Nice. Wonder what else I missed here. Oh man, that's great. Extension speaker. What do you think of the grill cloth installation? Felt. Staples. Probably was a similar thing up here. This cabinet is glued together, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. I think maybe I'll make a insert held in with Velcro a la 70s Fender. First step, I'm going to get rid of the death cap. Replace those diodes and replace that filter cap can. Alright, and here's the new old stock capacitor. I wouldn't call that nestling. That's more like mounted. Alright, so I've got this new old stock Sprague cap in there. I only needed 3 according to schematics, so I got 1 extra for emergencies. And I've heard, partly I'm going to test my work and partly I'm going to test an experiment. I've heard about reforming old capacitors, new old stock capacitors. I do know one thing, it's very probably going to be better than what was in there. So I'm going to reform it slowly over the next hour or two on my Variac and see what happens. Alright, onward. I'm going to start out with about 25 volts and just let that trickle in for a while. Hey, it's a work in progress. What can I tell you? And it's up to 50 with no glow. And at 90 volts, still no glow from my current limiter and a slight little glow from the pilot lamp, which I am going to replace. I don't like this arrangement with the resistor. Just don't like it. And at 100 volts, we've got a better glow here. And better yet, no smoke. And I don't need to swap out the extension speaker yet. Nice. Okay, I've had it at 120 volts for about 15 minutes. It's taken me about 2 hours. And I measured these voltages and they start out around 320 and step down nicely to 200 and something. So that seems to be really, really well, working well, that is. Alright. Okay, I went ahead and put a nice 3-wire cable in here with a strain relief a la Fender. Got it grounded there nicely, and the black wire goes to the fuse, then to the switch. It randomly lights up that light, and the white one goes right back to the transformer. So I'll fire it up now. Make sure I didn't fry anything or create any weirdness, shorts or anything, or that need lengthening. So here we go. Variac is on, current limiter, crank it up to about 70 volts, no glow from the current limiter. And here comes the light, up to 120, switch works. And we have power. All right. Next up, I'm going to just check the voltages, calculate the bias, and I want to talk about the power tube, preamp tubes a little bit here, just for giggles. Alright, discharge caps. So this is unplugged and off. Actually it's on, but it's unplugged. And look at that. It's 220 volts on the first one. 218. These are still charged nicely. Or not so nicely if you touch them. So I'm going to discharge them with my screwdriver discharger. It's like about a 200-300 ohm resistor going to ground. Now watch. Point 0.008 volts. That I can deal with. And I always leave this on and unplugged, as that will tend to slowly drain the caps out in case I forget, which I've been known to do. Alright, I measured this resistor, and it is right on. It's supposed to be 180. It's like 189. New cathode bias cap, and I got rid of the dangling wires going to the speaker and put this nice period correct switchcraft jack for the speaker. And I once again got these new caps put in here. Nice assortment. And waiting on a couple of new pots from our pals at CE Distribution. Alrighty. And then we're gonna fire this beast of a beast up. Alright, it's early on a Sunday morning, and I've got all the new pots and caps wired in their respective positions. I've got the tubes installed. I've got my famous sine wave generator going. I've got it plugged into my Uncle Doug patented current limiter and my Variac, and I'm going to power it up. Switch is on. I don't have an extension speaker plugged in. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Okay, here we go. I'm turning it on. Whoops. I meant to turn it on slowly. It's up to 120 volts right now. Oh well. No glow. I do hear a hum coming out of the speaker. Let's see, I'm going to give it a little volume. Oh. Ah, so let's see. Whoa, that's a powerful. I think the tones work. I have to plug a guitar in. Speaker seems pretty good. And for you tremolo hounds, tremolo seems to be working. I'm going to plug a guitar in and see what's going on here. It sounds good. I just want to take a minute to discuss the two oddball tubes in this Magnatone Bradford amp. So there's 3 double tubes in this amp. So that means there's, for all intents and purposes, 6 tubes. So this one here is right here, is your power tube. And I thought it was kind of interesting. If you look at this, it's a twin output pentode, twin pentode, used for push-pull output tube. So it's sort of like having 2 EL84s or even 2 6L6s in there, or sorry, 6V6s. Maybe not quite as powerful as a 6V6. And then here's your pin out. You can see there's 2 of everything here. And then if you look at it, here's your plate voltage, 300 volts. So a 6V6 can handle more than that, but that's respectable. And between the 2 of them, you can put out 12 watts. So that explains why this little amp is, like, surprisingly kicks a little bit. So typical operation would be around 250 volts. So between 9 and 12 watts. Maximum would be 12. So I'm going to probably say 12 watts is pretty good with the 250 volt plate voltage. I'll just take a few measurements later just out of curiosity. And this other tube that's of interest is this 12DW7, which is also is labeled as the 7247. So I'm not going to bore you too much with all the data here. It's kind of interesting for some people, but down here, it's 2 dissimilar triodes. So it's like having a 12AX7 and a 12AU7 in one tube. So I'm going to take a look at the, and you can see here the amplification factor of section 1 is 100, very much like a 12AX, and 20, like a 12AU. Anywho, so hopefully someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but for right now, this is that ELL80, and here is one plate, and here's the other plate, and these are going to act in push-pull, all right? And then here's your cathode, and that is tied to these resistor and this capacitor going to ground. That's your cathode bias. So this is a cathode bias push-pull power tube. You have your tremolo. This is part of your tremolo circuit right here. You can see here's your intensity here, And I think this is your tremolo here. All right. And first half, sorry, that's the, I'm wrong about that. That's the 12AX7. This is your 7247 here. So the 12AX7 is doing the tremolo duties here, it looks like. And so here's your 12DW7, and it's got your first and second halves here. So here's your two halves. And so that's all I got for now. All right, hope this helps. Also, one other thing, I can't remember if I touched on this or not, and that is the date here of, looks like 6/something/66. So yeah, so this schematic was drawn up in 66, 6/29/66, it says up here. So I'm going to call this a 67, even though the speaker, which I believe is original, has a 1964 date. You know, these were made for a small chain of stores to sell, I do believe. I'm going to look into that further. So I did a search for the W.T. Grant stores, which is on the back of this amp. And as you can see, it was a United States-based chain that operated from 1906 to 1976, which is a good run. You can look at a couple of these things here, but of note to me was they had a record label, Columbia Records produced, called Diva, from 1925 to 1930. And also of interest is the store-branded electronics named Bradford, after Bradford County, Pennsylvania, where W.T. Grant was born. Very interesting stuff. I don't know if any of you probably don't remember Caldors or Kmart, which is what some of them were converted into. And looks like the reason why it closed was because they were extending credit willy-nilly to anybody. And it was the second biggest bankruptcy up until that time in U.S. history, excluding the U.S. government, of course, which has been bankrupt since God knows when. But pay no attention to that. Anyways, just thought that was a little of interest on Wikipedia if you wanted to read some more about that store. So they probably paid Etsy to make their amplifiers, which they sold in their store at the height of the tube amp craze in the mid-60s. Alrighty. And according to them, they were known for values. And the fate was bankruptcy. Okay, after doing a little bit of research, I found out this Starlight series came along in mid-64. The Magnatones were producing the Starlight series. And I was looking at this 422 right here, 421, 422. It's got quite a lot of the same stuff. The 6AV6 is one notable difference here. But that sure does look like the amp. And then this schematic sure does look like that schematic. In fact, it's identical. The schematic they give here is identical. So this is a 422 Starlight Series Magnatone amp. All right, here's the frame. Tentatively fit in there. I'm gonna take it down on the sides a little bit just to fit that grill cloth. So we're moving ahead. So here's the grill cloth. I used some high tension Velcro to hold it in rather than going the screw route. And I plugged it in, and it sounds great. Really sounds great. I'll let you be the judge when I do the sound test. However, I noticed that the tremolo is a little weak. So I'm gonna pull it back apart and check that circuit. I have a suspicion that some of the resistors, or maybe the caps, are out of spec. Let's see if I can get that a little better. Sigh. Note to self. When pulling an amp chassis, take the tubes out. That's an expensive mistake right there. That's a $50 or $60 tube I screwed up. Next, and for a measly 70 bucks, I got 2 of them. And look, they're tested. They're vintage and new at the same time. So we'll see. I got 2 of them. Hopefully one of them works. I'm taking a chance here. These things are selling for 80 and 100 bucks each on eBay. So I took a chance with this one. Well, it looks like I got lucky on eBay. So for the price of what some people are asking for one of these EL 80s, ELL 80s that is, I got this one, which tests pretty decent. If the other one tests as well or better, I did really well. Looks like I did rather well here. This one's even a little stronger than the other one. Alright, so we're gonna continue on here and fire these suckers up. Okay, ready to put it back in. Let me go over what I did. Replace these caps. All new pots. Several new resistors that were out of spec, including those, and then also a new cathode bias cap, new old stock electrolytic, which seems to be working just fine. New knobs, and some new tubes, new old stock tubes. All right, let's get it back in cabinet. Everything's up to spec. Give it a sound test. All right, the long-awaited sound check. So I got the tone all the way up and the volume about a third of the way up. I do have a Fender foot switch that I'm going to use with this amp. It's a 2-button, but only the vibrato button, of course, works. So here's a little sound check. Tone about a third of the way up, and some tremolo. Okay, well, that's about it for the sound test on this Bradford amplificator made by SD, aka Magnatone, in 1966 thereabouts. All right, well, thanks for watching. Hope this helps.